The update has arrived for Season 10 of Call of Duty Mobile, which means we have all of the new balance changes in the game, so we now know our new top 10 guns. And while there haven't been a ton of major changes to the weapons inside of the top 10 guns, we do have one weapon that was introduced that is absolutely going to shake things up. Drop a like if this is helpful, and we'll go ahead and hop into things. First up, naturally, we have our honorable mentions. I haven't been doing this in past videos, but I feel like we've got to start throwing the Tundra in here simply because this is one of the most powerful snipers in COD Mobile history. And even though snipers are difficult to use in respawns, because the Tundra is so freaking strong when it comes to search and destroy, I don't really feel like I can leave it out anymore. Next, we got the GKS. This is one that was actually pretty high up in our top 10 guns last time around. And really, the only reason it got pushed outside the top 10 is because there is a new replacement for this weapon that is better in just about every way possible. And because of that, the position that it had in the top 10 kind of gets completely replaced. With that being said, it's still an absolutely phenomenal option, in certain scenarios can outgun some of the guns in our top 10 guns. After that, we also have the UL-736, already a super solid option and got a couple of significant buffs to its bullet spread accuracy and its strafe speed, so even though they don't quite put it inside the top 10, we got a couple different LMGs battling it out for the best LMG in the game. Alongside that, obviously, we do have the MG42, which has been very solid throughout. And last but certainly not least, the Holger got an extra 10 rounds on the base magazine size, which doesn't really sound like a whole lot because it already had 100, but it's actually a substantial change for the 30 and 35 round magazines, which now get buffed up to 40 and 45, which makes them a lot more viable. Even though I don't think they're meta right now, you should definitely give them a try. Now, moving into our top 10 guns, naturally we do have one of our long time stays in the top 10, the Fennec, which recently had the mythic version reintroduced into the game. Even though the Fennec is the most used SMG in competitive Call of Duty Mobile, there's a couple reasons that we can't really have it higher on the list. Number one, you really do need the mythic version in order for it to have maximum effectiveness. Number two, it's a lot more difficult to use than a lot of other SMGs because it does have substantially more recoil. And number three, because of that extra recoil, most of the time the build that you're going to have for it is not going to have fantastic mobility because you do need to be able to maintain both bullet spread accuracy and recoil control. With that being said, it's tough to match the Fennec's time to kill up close, and even if you don't have the mythic version, if you have solid aim, you can make do with just about any blueprint possible. At number 9, we've got the R9. This is the only shotgun in the top 10 guns in COD Mobile. Anybody who's watched competitive COD Mobile is not going to be surprised to see this, but the one-tap range on this thing when you stack bullet spread accuracy is pretty ridiculous, and especially with how fast that second follow-up shot is, there's very few things that can counter an accurate R9 player up close. Naturally, the downsides for this are the fact that number one, you really do have to ADS for this to have maximum effectiveness, and number two, because it's a shotgun, it does have a very limited range. So while it is going to be really strong in its effective range, once you get outside of that, it's pretty much unusable, which means you have to understand the proper situations to use it. Coming in at number 8, we have the CX9, particularly the burst magazine. Once again, this is a weapon that is very niche. I would say fairly similarly to the R9 because it is so dependent on you landing those initial shots. But the burst mag CX9 has one of the fastest time to kills in the entire game, with it nearly being a guaranteed one burst if you land all 3 shots, and a massive movement boost whenever you equip the 12 round magazine as well. On top of that, the base version of the CX9 has really good iron sight, so it's not one of those weapons where you really need the mythic version in order to be able to thrive, but especially when it comes to search and destroy, there's not much that can counter the burst CX9, which is the reason why it got banned from competitive COD Mobile. Coming in at number 7, we've got the start of our reign of ARs. The Type 19 has kind of oscillated back and forth on the list, and really the only reason that it's moved around is because of the introduction of stronger guns, but it's definitely a really solid all-around assault rifle. Much like a lot of the guns that are inside of our top 10, the Type 19 thrives whenever you do have the mythic version because it's got that built-in red dot that feels like it has a lot less aim shake, but absolutely no question, it's still very usable even with the base version, although I will recommend a red dot because the iron sights on this are not the cleanest. Coming in at number 6, we've got the HVK. This is one that I feel like could really be higher. It could be all the way up at number 2, it could be down at number 6. It really depends on your playstyle and how accurate you are, especially if you're really good at landing upper body shots. The HVK can be one of the best guns in the game, but it is another one of those guns that's a lot stronger whenever you have one of the better legendary options like the Cartridge Crusher. It has the ability to 2-tap to the head in the close range, which obviously is a big upside, but it's not something you're really going to be able to bank on. And while whenever you're able to land a 3-shot kill, the time to kill is very quick, it's not nearly nearly as consistent as some of the other alternatives, and because it has a fast rate of fire, that small magazine size is going to be very, very punishing. Coming in at number 5, we got two guns that are tied. No surprise right here is going to be the SKS and the Type 63. These two are currently the long-range kings of COD Mobile, with the SKS being a little bit more consistent in the long range, and the Type 63 having a slightly better rate of fire, which makes it a lot more competitive in the close range. The nice thing about the Type 63 is it's a lot more versatile in the ways that you can build it out, because there are so many different attachments that change the way that it plays, particularly with the attachments that increase the rate of fire. The one downside of the gun being the fact that it does have bullet speed, which the SKS does not, meaning it's not going to be as consistent in the long range. With that being said, they both have really solid base iron sights, so it's not like you have to worry about buying a legendary version in order for them to reach maximum effectiveness. Coming in at number 4 is a gun that has slowly made its way down from the number 1 spot on this list. The DRH, while it is still a phenomenal option, has slowly crept its way down while stronger alternatives have been introduced into the game. The DRH is really good for a lot of different reasons. It's got amazing 3-tap consistency, it's got great bullet spread accuracy, it has really good mobility for an assault rifle as well, and overall is just really good in a lot of different scenarios. On top of that, we have the fact that one of the only free legendaries in the game is a free DRH, which is really good iron sights, and the base version has solid irons as well, so whether you are a pay-to-win player or a free-to-play player, the DRH is a phenomenal option regardless. I feel like I don't need to say a whole lot more about this one because it's been inside of our top 10 guns for so long. Coming in at number 3, the newest gun in COD Mobile and the replacement for the GKS. The reason the GKS got pushed outside the top 10 guns is the USS-9, aka the Uzi. The USS-9 is very similar to the GKS in a lot of different scenarios. Number 1, it has almost identical stats when it comes to rate of fire and the first damage range. Number 2, both guns can 2-tap to the head in the first damage phase, and the USS-9 can actually 2-tap to the head in the second damage phase as well, which is pretty crazy given that that can be built out all the way to 28 meters. On top of that, the USS-9 has easier to control recoil than the GKS and better bullet spread accuracy, on top of the fact that it can be built for better mobility, so there's really not any reason to use the GKS other than the one downside that the USS-9 does have bullet speed and the GKS does not. On top of that, we're also going to be getting a mythic version of the USS-9, which is going to include a free red dot, so even though the base USS-9 is going to have pretty bad irons and a lot of aim shake, from everything that we've seen from the mythic leaks, neither of those is going to be an issue for the mythic version of the USS-9, which could very well put the gun inside of the top 2 by the end of the season. Coming in at number 2, we have the same gun that we saw last season, the Oden, which is currently the 2-tap AR of COD Mobile, maintaining its current spot because of how ridiculously powerful it is whenever it's in the right hands. Yes, this is one of those guns that's going to be a little bit better when you have the mythic version, but there's a lot of solid alternatives in the epic category that can be just as effective. It's no surprise that this was the go-to assault rifle in the COD Mobile World Championships, given the buff that it got a couple of months ago that increased its 2-tap consistency to the upper body pretty significantly. Now, it won't be any surprise to anybody that's played COD Mobile Ranked over the past 3, 4, or 5 months, I'm not even sure how many it's been at this point, that the BP-50 is still the number 1 gun in COD Mobile. Despite the fact that just about anybody that I've seen talked about rank has asked for it to be nerfed in some capacity or another over the past couple of months, we've seen very tiny nerfs to this gun, which has had its mythic out of the store for a while at this point, and did get a nerf this season, but it was only in Battle Royale, and this is one of the few guns that even if you don't have the mythic version, the base is arguably just as good. Even if you're not able to achieve a 4-shot kill in the close range, the 5-shot kill still beats out the majority of other SMGs and assault rifles. The BP-50, absolutely no question, is still the king of multiplayer COD Mobile. But that's gonna wrap things up for our top 10 guns of the game. Hope you guys did enjoy. If this was helpful for you guys, do me a huge favor, make sure to drop a like down below, make sure to subscribe to the squad if you guys haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.